I'm outside today, as you can see. I'm working on the next book, which is really exciting. I wanted to share with you how I organised myself to write Love or Liberty, partly because I'm reminding myself what I did while I start on the second one. So Love or Liberty is a book I just published about a month ago, which is a space race, a military romantic thriller, really exciting stuff. So when I started as what's known as a pantser, and that meant that I figured out a place to start and I just sort of kept going backwards and forwards. And that was really good to start off with because it meant I got some momentum. But after a while, I realised that I needed a bit of organisation because I just couldn't hold all the ideas in my head. And so I created myself a little bit of a spreadsheet, which I'm going to show you in a second, and I hope you'll find it useful. So here's a glimpse at a spreadsheet I did to keep myself organised because I couldn't keep it all in my head and sequence it at the same time. There's a little bit of glare today. I've moved the computer so that it avoids the worst of it, but hopefully you can still see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So we have a column for the year and the date and the day as well. So some of these things happen sort of late autumn, some of them on a specific day, you can see that, and other things happen at a specific time of day. So you can see a column for that. The book moves from the 1950s all the way through to the mid-60s. And you've got your chapter number. And then the coloured column there is the scene description. I'll come back to that in a second. And if I move over, you'll see on this side of the screen, if I can find the cursor, tons of notes there. And that was about real things in history that happen at the right time, at the certain time. So there's dates and real people in there. So if I come back to this bit, the colour codes were essentially different storylines that might have started separately but had to come together, and I split them up to increase the suspense and intrigue, and I think that works really well. But I can just see, I don't think this is the latest and greatest, but if I zoom in just here, you can see the word boom. That's definitely still in the book, and I think you'll enjoy that if you read the book. That's definitely still there. So the next column I want to show you is the one you can see headed in red there, which is the charge on our protagonist. Now, our protagonist is a NASA astronaut, and at the beginning, the status gives him a positive charge. At some point in the story, he loses status, and that gives a negative charge. So this sort of protagonist is very status driven. In the 1960s, NASA astronaut Elliot See was said to have lost his concentration and lost his life in a flying accident because he lost his position on a roster. So that's really helpful to see how the story's moving for the protagonist and actually other characters as well. And some of those are grouped into, on this sheet, the beginning, the middle and the end. I didn't write this first and then write the book, but I certainly try to keep this up to date as I went through the book, and when things didn't make sense, I'd rejig this a little bit now and then until I got something that worked, and then I kind of knew how the storyline was going to work. Sometimes I had to move things around. There was a fair amount of that once I really got into it, just to make the sequence work. So there you have it. Now you've got an insight as to how I kept myself organised to write the book. So visit bobbymed1.com if you want to find out more about it, and sign up for the mailing list for the exciting bits that weren't published, which are coming soon.